So welcome everyone to our Coffee with an Actor, in this case, actors. We're very, very lucky to have, Maeve Higgins and John Keating with us. This is the cast of our first play since the before times. And we're just thrilled that not only to have these two wonderful, talented actors with us, but to really finally be able to be live and in person and to work with you. So thank you so much for joining us and being with us this afternoon.
Delighted.
Can we say thank you for coming to us on your day off from rehearsal? You know.
Yeah, a much deserved day off. So can we start us off and tell us what has it been like rehearsing after such a long time away?
I have to say that it's been gratifying on and off on so many levels. It's actually it would take up to half an hour to even say how many. Do you know? It's been being back on 22nd Street at Irish Rep for me has been like really special, actually, to be back after 17 and a half months it was. And because I was there the week that everything stopped as well, when we hadn't finished the run of Lady G.
Right.
When we left that day, we really, like everybody else, had no idea whether we were going to be gone for a week or weeks or months or completely indefinite. So it has been a very long time, but to be back in the room, literally back in the rehearsal room, has been really exciting, actually, to be back there with Kieran and with Maeve. And it's also I'd forgotten in that 18 months, honestly, I'd forgotten that sort of gratified tiredness that you get from being in a rehearsal room for 6 hours, where you're using different parts of the old noggin that you might not be using, certainly for even remotely that long during a day, to actually use that, to have that tiredness at home, on the way home on the train and at home having dinner in the evening, has been really gratifying, actually, I have to say. And going to bed at like 9:30 or 10 because I'm ready. That's me.
Yeah, a really fun part. Sorry, John. For me has been like we actually rehearse in the theatre, like upstairs in the theatre where the offices are, and then downstairs there's the box office, and then downstairs again there's the actual, the theatre. So we can see everybody building the set. So like as we're, working on the play, there's all of these other people in the same building, which, as you know, has been, not possible for the last year and a half to all be together in a building, wearing masks and everything. But to see it all happening physically at the same time that we're like imagining this play and how it's going to be. That's been, I didn't really understand that was going to happen. So that's been a real treat for me to just see it physically coming together. Like just yesterday or the day before yesterday, we got to like go onto the stage and walk around the set and see the ceiling that they've put in, and I just got such a kick out of that.
John, does that feel like when you walk onto this actual stage, doesn't it feel like coming home?
Yeah, honestly, Charlotte, it felt like coming home the first day in the lobby. So to walk onto a set feels even more like that. Yeah, it really does. And to look out, at the audience seating there, on both on the bottom and on the top side, is really lovely, actually. I have to say, I can't wait.
I think it's such a pleasure to be able to see other parts of the anatomy as well, and not just the heads of people that we've been looking at for
18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we take for granted. That, I mean, one of the reasons we're all so committed to live theater is the sense of a story existing between human beings and also human beings in the audience, and then having to adjust that for what you were saying, John, like a kind of indefinite amount of time is really hard to sort of wrap your head around. So what's your experience like with this play in particular, Autumn Royal?
You want to go, Maeve?
You didn't know each other before. You've not worked together before.
We haven't, no.
Oh.
We haven't, no, and that's been really tough. Just John, he's good at that, but his personality, he has a terrible personality.
I know, he's terrible. He really, he's very difficult.
How have we put up with his personality for such a
I
long
don't
time? We keep
know.
having him back in spite of all of it.
Wait, that's my doorbell going. I'm just gonna go and check. I'll be right back.
She's not kidding. I thought she was.
That was wonderful. Yeah, that was wonderful. And on that note,
She drops the mic and leaves the stage.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Like, John, do you have a doorbell as well that maybe you need to?
Karen, is that the way she is in rehearsal?
Yeah, every time you ask her to do something, there's a doorbell ringing, you know,
Doorbell.
this is the problem.
problem
So,
was very-
John, could I ask you how, you've spent your time during the pandemic? I mean, it's an interesting thing is that both you and Maeve have literary pursuits in different ways. But
we do, yeah. For me, it's actually a lot of it's in this room. In that Laura, my wife and I both record audiobooks, and the first week that the pandemic started, producers that we worked with had asked us if we could record them at home because everything was going to close down indefinitely. And having zero equipment at the time, we said, yes, we could, no problem. And so we actually had to turn around and buy everything from B&H in about 24 hours, 48 hours. Wow. And after that came the hard part of actually in this room here, right in front of me actually, of actually being able to record professionally. So we started recording, and luckily we had friends who were engineers, and they were able to tell us, no, that sounds terrible. Let's go back and do another demo, and we do that, and no, that sounds even worse. So over the course of a few days, we started to get it right. And we've been recording audiobooks each other actually, professionally for production quality for the last 18 months at home. And that's finally started to change in the last couple of months because people are actually able to go back into studio now. But we recorded, I suppose, about at least 30 books, actually.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
It surprised me. I only realized it because I was talking to one of the stage managers, Karen, and she said, well, how many? And I said, and I started to think about it. It's actually been at least 30 books in the last, and actually we're still talking to each other. Laura and I are actually still talking to each other, which is after a year and a half of recording each other. Yeah.
I never asked you this, John, but do you sometimes, you and Laura record the same book and do different?
We have never done the same book. Often I've done books, where there's a male and a female narrator, but we've never done a book together. And the only thing we've ever done together, actually, since we met in a play, we did an episode of a show called Nurse Jackie together one time, totally by accident. We both were in an episode of that show.
Yeah.
You also had two children together, I think, as well.
We had two children together as well.
Twins.
Not in the episode of Nurse Jackie.
But didn't Laura also video you, shoot you when we did The Weir?
She did the whole thing, and she somehow remained infinitely patient with me about the whole thing. But it was a lot of fun, actually. That was really unusual and really fun to do at the time.
Now, Maeve, you're a triple, quadruple threat because you're very well known as a writer. So did you pursue literary avenues during this whole madness?
Well, it's funny. I didn't talk to John about recording stuff. I think probably what I did during the pandemic was I was studying. I was in grad school, and then I was writing a lot more. Yeah, because as you all know, everybody here with us today, performance just stopped. It's stating the obvious, but it was sort of incredible to me because I have, I do comedy shows and I do NPR. Wait, just a minute.
Don't tell me.
Wait, don't tell me. And those are usually live, you know, and it's such a huge part is having the audience there. Like it makes you funnier, it makes you sharper, it lifts everything. So that was a really strange drop when it was, you know, okay, no more audiences, no more performance. It just all went away. So yeah, it definitely, I really, you know, was craving attention for a year and a half. It's very sad when that's how you get validation. I think, you know, I'm the real victim here of this whole pandemic.
Well, we have 40.
So yeah, I studied, to answer your question, Kieran, I studied a bit more, and I wrote a lot more I write for the New York Times, I write for the Guardian, and for an Irish newspaper too. And then I did podcasts, right? Because we were able to then set up remotely, as John said, you know, the mic and the good headphones and do it, but it's just not as much fun. It's just not, like, it's fine. And you can, of course, with podcasts, you can reach people where they are. And but I think just being in a room with an audience, it really changes. It just changes everything. So, you know, I just hope now it will all go to plan and that we can just do that again.
Yeah, I know. I'm a huge fan of Wait, Don't Tell Me, and it was really interesting to listen to it during the pandemic where they did not have that audience spots. I mean, and it was like, oh my God! And some of the funniest things it was crickets, you know. And
I know, and I think that's because, like, you're on a panel with other comedians and comedians like don't really laugh at each other because we're all so strange and miserable. So then you need an audience. You just do, like, that's just part of the conversation. I think probably similar with the play, it's a different thing if there's not people in the room with you. It's not really a play, you know.
Yeah, I've tried a few jokes with Maeve during rehearsals, and you know, I'd come to the punchline.
Recording in progress.
He'd like look at me blankly, you know, and say, when it was good and she liked it, this is Maeve's reaction when she thought something was really, really funny. She'd go, I think that works. That was it. Yeah. It's been really rough in rehearsals.
Have you tried out the nun jokes on her?
No, I'm going to though. Yeah,
Please.
she doesn't know about this. Yeah.
Oh, please, and may she, I hope she never will.
Maeve, actually, that I didn't actually know that part that you went. But what did you go back to grad school for?
So I just got a master's in migration studies from CUNY. So all the New Yorkers here will know our brilliant public school system. So I went to CUNY Grad Center and did a master's there. Yeah, so that was brilliant. And of course, it's very tied into being Irish, being an immigrant myself. And that experience that's like often reflected, you know, I think by Irish artists is the moving between places, you know. But this play is not like, it's so funny because in this play is like so Cork, like where I'm from, that's where Kevin Barry set it. And it's just, they have never left. Like these two characters that John and I play have never left and will never leave this small town in Ireland. Like they are the opposite of migrants. It's just so funny to me that this is what I'm doing now.
It is. But it's a kind of a microcosm, isn't it, for all humanity, who are people who are stuck within an environment of where they can't escape from. I mean, I think so many people can relate to that, no matter where they're from. So that
really occurs to me, Kieran, that you and Char have programmed so many plays over the last 18 months where everyone is sort of stuck, whether it's The Weir or The Touch of the Poet or like on and on and on. No one's allowed to leave. Cordelia Dream by Marina.
It's true, isn't it? So we are the masters of being stuck, aren't we? And we want to share that with the world.
Put us in a room and we'll do, by God, we'll do something.
I have a question. I don't know that we have any young actors on, but listening to you both talk about, well, I mean, you're seasoned professionals, but I wonder what advice you would say to a young actor who's just arrived or just starting out in their career, and then suddenly they don't have an audience or an opportunity for
I think that's an important question to ask, because a very young actor starting out to come face to face all at once with 18 months of absolutely nothing, no chance, no auditions, no performances, nothing, is such a stopgap in a beginning career. I feel for them, very much feel for them. And glad we're about to stop that. We're about to give them a chance now.
So what would you say to a young artist who has arrived in New York or Dublin that was
Learn to sing.
Wait, what did you say, Charlotte?
Learn to sing.
Oh,
Use this time for singing lessons.
I know what I crossed my mind a lot in the first few months, actually, after the pandemic started, as to what people would do if they were thinking about starting a program, rather than just coming. If they were thinking of starting acting, how would you feel about that? Do you know, as a 17 or 18 or 19-year-old, or even somebody who was thinking of going to grad school, what would you think about that? And the answer is that it's tricky. It's very tricky. But having said that, one thing that really crossed my mind when Charlotte was just saying that as well was, I think reading actually is enormous. Mm-hmm. I think at any age, and I think it doesn't really matter. I think reading while you're waiting for the next whatever it is, reading in the form that you're hoping to work in, reading or watching or both, but primarily reading is amazing to me. And people, to say that it's not enough that happens now is an understatement. It doesn't. And I think that the more you can in the downtime read about your craft,
right,
is enormous.
Only good to do that, John. Only good.
I think so. It sounds a bit simplistic, but it's amazing how little of it is actually done now. You know, it really is. That would be my 5 cents.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if what you have is time, and now can be a time instead of rushing down, but to actually take the time to invest in and learn.
One thing that, on that exact subject, the writer of the play that we're rehearsing right now has written some of the best novels of the last 15 years in Ireland. That's really saying something, because it's a pretty strong period for contemporary Irish fiction. But he has 3 of the best novels of the last 15 years.
I agree.
And that's really good one to read, is his stuff.
Yes, for any of you who are listening, some of the novels he had is the City of Bohane, which I think is kind of Cork as well, but he doesn't quite identify where that is. It's set in the future. It's another one called Beetlebone, which imagines John Lennon visiting Ireland and visiting an island that actually. True story is that one of the Beatles actually bought an island off the coast of Ireland, and he imagines John returning to this island because he's a little bit having problems in his artistic life, and he can't move forward. So he imagines him going back on the year before he died, and it is at once hilarious and moving, that book. And then a recent one is the Night Boat to Tangier. Which he's a wonderful, but within all of those novels is I mean, I never, and I don't know if Maeve and John, you know, when reading these ones, I know you guys have, that he has such a sense. I mean, his dialogue within these lengths, he has such a sense of drama, and he has such a sense of capturing people's. That you know that he's already a playwright, you know, before, you know, if so it was fantastic to discover he actually had written plays as well as that one. And I want to share one of the other things with you, is that when he began Autumn Royal, I mean, it must have been 5 or 6 years ago, and he imagined it initially as a one-woman show. And he had Miss Higgins here. Yeah, she was the one. She was the inspiration. She was the muse, you know, at that time. And then And then she went off and became rich and famous, and we all know that story. So, so then he
very wealthy and very extremely famous. I mean, there's my bodyguard isn't here, but he'll be back. Yeah, but it's funny. Yeah, like his
doorbell actually, was it?
That's so funny. Yeah, like I actually never asked you, Kieran, like, had you read his books and then you thought, oh, does he have a play? Or was it just like you knew about the play? Or I don't know how it came to get to the Irish Rep. Because like, I know how, you know, he started it, and like, I know Kevin and like, he likes my comedy and I like his writing. So like, you're right, he did initially write it with me in mind. But then I don't know how it got to the Irish Rep.
Well, and yes, I had read his books, and I was a big fan of his books. And it happened that I didn't even know he'd written a play, and it was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's got a very good agent who actually sent the play to us, and said, "You guys
right,
know."
okay.
Do you guys know a guy called Kevin Barry? He says, "Oh my God, yes, yeah, of course."
Yeah, because you thought he was talking about the Kevin Barry who like died in the Irish Revolution.
That's right.
Yeah.
I jail one Monday morning.
Don't sing, Kieran.
I won't.
For those of you who are here, you should know that Kevin's going to join us on October 14th for a script club. So, and we're thrilled that he's going to Zoom in with us. And of course, Maeve and John, if you would like to be there, we'd love to have you, but there's no pressure. But
oh yeah, he's so fun too. I mean, like he's a writer, but he really performs like his own. I'm listening to Night Boat to Tangiers at the moment on audiobook, and he recorded that, and it's just so fun.
he's the performer of it.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
He's taking food out of John's mouth there with reading his own book.
I also want to remind people, if they would have any questions, that to please put them into the chat at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try to engage you in on the conversation.
Yeah. Kevin Barry is actually he's in Ireland. He hopes to, now that the travel ban has just been lifted. I don't think it's going to be in time for him to get to the opening, but he's definitely planning to come and visit us and see us. When I called him up and said, "Where are you now, Kevin?" He says, "Oh, I'm living in Sligo, dangerously close to Roscommon." He could see seemingly Roscommon from his top bedroom.
Oh.
How many people can brag about that?
Kieran, what is it like for you to finally be directing live actors in person? How is that? Has it changed the way you think of directing at all? Or
I'd rather not say now. That's
okay.
no. It's. I mean, it's.
Your doorbell.
Talking about recasting, weren't
Yeah,
you?
the doorbell. No, it's just pure. It's honestly on our first day, where everybody came in, and we have in the business what we call the meet and greet, where the designers come and the staff get to meet the performers, and they all come in and everybody's around the table, and it's honestly can be let's get this thing done so we can start the thing. But in this case, it was just really so lovely to to see everybody, and quite emotional it was for us both to say, oh my God, this is actually happening again. Because when John says that time, we didn't know that it was going to be a week or a month when we were closing before. I personally thought it was going to be a couple of days, and it was basically letting people go home and say, and it was on a Sunday.
See you next week.
Yeah, we kept on rehearsing, after the thing had ended, for another day or so, and then the schools closed. That was the big thing. Says, listen, they're going to close the schools. So we called up and says, okay, guys, so this week is off. Let's keep running the lines, keep doing them, and we'll be back. But oh God, it was rough. But we were all in the same boat.
We're back though.
Yeah.
We're back though with these two people.
Yeah. So Maeve, you spent quite a bit of time in Ireland though, didn't you, during during the thing, or you went back for a time, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And I see my mom is here now, actually. So, Mom, I'm waving. So I was home with them. And, they were begging me, please go back to New York. Please, it's open. They need you there. So, they were very good. They put up with me for the best part of a year, honestly. I went home. And yeah, like, it's funny because I guess like St. Patrick's Day was cancelled in 2020. Do you remember? And that was, I was thinking, okay, that means, if we're giving up St. Patrick's Day, this has to be serious. So yeah, I was home. But it was great for me because, as I said, I'm from Cork, which is where Autumn Royal is set. So it was really fun for me to know, oh, these are the clothes all the girls wear. This is what this is the humor. Lynn, that's so funny that you mentioned humor because it's like, I would say there's like a dark humor in Cork, maybe in Ireland. Again, you could branch it to like every oppressed people who've got a historical sense of, being hard done by. There's this kind of black humor, right? And I think that's definitely in the play. And it's certainly in the kind of the words he uses. And Kevin is such a fun writer, like funny and witty writer, even his word choices, even when it's about something that's dark and sad. Because in the play, John and I portray a brother and sister who are kind of trapped at home caring for a demented father who you never see. But there's tons of laughs in the show. And I think it comes from the weirdnesses of family life that we all probably know. And then it just comes from like the fact that Kevin is, he's funny on purpose as a writer.
Well, I think Monica Higgins should talk about the weirdness of family life. I think she should probably come on and discuss this.
I just want to invite Lynn Griffo. She has a question that's exactly
that was her
about
question.
your.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lynn.
Anybody got any
Can you
questions?
unmute yourself, Lynn?
You're muted then. Can somebody unmute, Lynn?
I'm trying to.
Lynn, you're muted.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, Maeve just answered it really, so thank you. I'm thrilled to ask a question and have it answered. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it actually reminds me that we should talk about how funny it is, because it does sound really grim, doesn't it? But it doesn't feel that way when we're rehearsing it, at least.
Funny, Kieran, you'd said there about Kevin's writing on another project, and you'd said that it was hilarious and moving. And I mean, I think if we got close to that with Autumn Royal, I think that would be a nice thing to aim for, hopefully, because I think it has elements of both in it, for sure. And that's kind of what we've been sort of tossing around the rehearsal room for the last 3 weeks. So hopefully we'll get there for that.
Yeah, it's most definitely a comedy. I mean, that's what Kevin called it. It's a dark comedy, but I think they're the only good kinds. I mean,
They are the only good kinds.
Who needs a sunny comedy?
That's right.
Nobody.
Kieran, didn't you offer money to the cast of Dublin Carol if they could make people laugh? I seem to remember something about any joke that they could put into that.
Behind my back.
It's not just Dublin Carol. I've also talked to Maeve and John. There's a commission. It's the laughs. It's a commission-based thing they get, and each week we have to calculate, just how many laughs they each get. And it's actually my idea, and I'm going to share with everybody. My idea for a show is I want to get the bleakest tragedy of all time and pay the actors by the laugh and see how that goes. I think it'd be such a funny show. It'd be one of the funniest.
Now you've given somebody an idea, Kieran.
Okay, so the 9th child has died. Let's make that a funny one. Let's see where that's going. I love that the Higgins family are on from Cove. I think
I know.
I think it's we'd love to say hello to you guys if we could. Can we
Daddy,
say hello?
can you mute there?
Are they on right now?
We're on right now.
Oh,
But I don't know. They can just say hi. I'm putting them on the spot here now, though.
Yeah.
No, it's okay if you can't. It's all right if you can.
Okay, we're unmuted.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
How are you guys?
Great. I know my dad won't show his face because he has a big cut on his nose because he had a wood chopping accident.
Oh dear. That's not true. But I talked through my backside, so here you go.
No, that's wonderful.
Okay,
It's
well,
great.
thanks for
It's great listening to you anyway. Thanks very much.
thanks,
Yeah.
Daddy.
Thanks so much for joining us. And thank you for
Pleasure.
giving us your daughter. She is such fun every day. Just
Yeah, Thanks
she's-
so so much. She's a gem. Thanks very much.
She's a gem. Thanks, Daddy. Love you. Is there any questions that are not Higgins related? Wait, can I ask the people the patrons and people who come to the theatre regularly, what is their best memories of, because I never did a show here before, but I know that the theatre has a real place in people's kind of, artistic life in New York. So I'd love to hear if anybody would like to talk about that.
Yes, when any
Or are you all hired? Are you all hired in by Seth and you've actually never been to Irish Rep?
We don't know what he does.
I know.
Behind our backs.
I tell them this is a requirement for them to attend our regular meetings.
It's
They
one
do
of
right.
it's one of our big line item budgets. It's like the rent a crowd, it's
I will tell you, Maeve, that they've been, although no one loves logging on, but they have worked so hard, and I'm very touched that everyone has attended so many of our productions over the last 18 months, even if it's been a real struggle for them, for all of us, whether it's technically challenging or what have you. And there's been a lot of, and then they send us beautiful notes. We actually made last year's Christmas card was filled with quotes from our members, because and not just members, but our just patrons. And now we've been so thrilled that we've been able to grow our audience so that half of our audience has been outside the tri-state area. And there's been a delightful kind of word of mouth. So even when people can't afford to make a suggested donation, that might be a college student who then tells his mother, oh my gosh, Mom, you have to see this. And then the mom tells the book club, and then actually donations do come in. But we've been delighted that our members and patrons have been our best kind of ambassadors, spread the word and keep us going.
It's brilliant. It's lovely. Yeah, that's kind of a silver lining, isn't it, of everybody being separated. At least now, you don't have to be in the city to be connected.
Yeah. Actually, John Breslin has a question, but I don't know if this is for the group. John, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
We live in West Virginia, which is unfortunately a long way from New York City, but we have been to the theater in New York several times, and probably difficult to get there right now. But have you given any thought to streaming this at some time in the future?
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask another, just a completely unrelated question to Maeve?
Yeah.
Being a comedian, one of my favorite comedians died last week, Norm Macdonald, and
I know.
I'm just wondering if you had any thoughts about that or any connection with him.
No, I didn't personally, but I was a fan for sure, and was sad to hear he died. He was young as well, and had been ill for some time, but kept it to himself, which apparently was a very Norm Macdonald thing to do. So no, I mean, I think one thing is when somebody like that dies, you reflect on what it was that made them good, like why you loved their work. And I think his kind of gentleness, but also like you knew what he thought, and he stayed really funny while being like on message, I think was really interesting. But yeah, I was sad to see that as well, John. A big fan of his. Yeah.
And as to the other, John, it is something that we've been trying to work out with the unions to see if we can keep connected to a lot of the audiences that we've come across over the last while, and we hope to do that on some level, even for Autumn Royal. We're definitely going to be filming it, and if we can make it if we can make it happen after we close for a limited viewership, we're going to try and do that, so people can see it. I mean, that's the one that's been a big question of the pandemic. Is called accessibility. And it's accessibility to people who are geographically inaccessible, but also physically inaccessible, or people who are maybe still not in a position that they feel it's safe enough, to come back, even though we are following every single protocol in the book for people who can come. It's vaccinated only, it's wearing of masks, it's crowd control, and every which way we can possibly do it, we are doing it to make it safe for both performers, staff, and audience alike.
Just
Wait, I just got such a nice message from Stanley Schiffman, who said their first Irish Rep production was by accident a production with puppets that was really realistic. What show was that?
I think
What was the well?
Puppets?
We did Rafferty Rescues the Moon was one of them, but that was, and we did another one, but was it Emperor Jones was also had a lot of puppets in it as well. What other ones?
there was a Beckett one downstairs that had the puppets in one of its pieces. Do you remember in the opening?
Yes. It was called a mind-bending
Emperor Jones, yeah, Emperor Jones, Stanley said, yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Also, that they would be a lot easier to work with, I would imagine, than us actors.
Well, I found puppets to laugh at my jokes a lot more.
And they don't complain, and they don't cost very much money.
Yeah.
They don't need an equity couch. John, just so everybody knows, we will be making announcements about whether or not we will be streaming. You will be informed if and when we're prepared to do that. Just so you know, it is something that we're trying to figure out how to do. So thank you for your interest, because I know you're not alone.
Yeah, my wife and I have streamed 130 plays during the pandemic.
Wow.
I don't know how much we spent on them, but
Oh my God.
we've enjoyed every one of them.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
I just want to call on Lynn Griffo again. She has something that she'd like to add to the conversation.
Oh, I don't mind putting it in writing, but asking in person is a different thing. I've been a longtime member of the Irish Rep over the years, and I'm Italian American, but I grew up with a lot of Irish friends, and Irish music is in my blood. So I think that is the deep connection I have. And I love in-person theater, and yet the pieces that you've offered on the web have been remarkable. I haven't seen a whole lot of them, but the staging is amazingly creative, unexpected, especially in the Aran Islands. There was the scenes of actually being in the location, the geographic location, and then I'm amazed at that complicated production process.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Kieran, can you say a bit about what we did to make Aran Islands happen?
Well, it was a crazy time. Aran Islands was, of course, a show that we had done in the Studio Theatre with Brendan Conroy. And so when we approached Brendan and Joe O'Byrne, the director, if they could recreate it, they thought, well, maybe we can actually get to the Aran Islands and take some footage from there and then intermingle it with Singh's experience on the island. And of course, it was in the worst parts of lockdown where people weren't even allowed to, go inter-county in Ireland. So we had to write some letters to say that, that this was seemingly press were allowed to go, or people who were covering things. So we gave him, we pretty much thought it was like Casablanca and getting their, the
letters of transit.
Letters of transit, to get from Dublin to the Aran Islands, and he could only go there. And he could not go indoors anywhere. He wasn't allowed to go indoors. So he was outside filming, trying to film PR night ends to make it look like what it was like when Singh was there, you know. But there was these damn satellite cables and there was telephone wires, and so he was trying to do that, and he was so cold that he finally went over to the post office and he sat outside shivering, and the guy who runs the post office came out and gave him a little drop of whiskey in his tea. Can you imagine that? It was so beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
What people have done for their art during the pandemic.
Our art, yeah.
Actually, I was want to add to that, you know, how many people have actually seen things that wouldn't have seen things otherwise has been an amazing part of what Irish Rep has achieved with that. And I was telling Kieran about this recently, but it's something that was very moving to me and very funny at the same time. Was we did the Weir virtually last year, which John Briesman there, you may have seen. But we did that, and it was beautiful to get a chance to do it in summer of last year, virtually. And sadly, I was home from my dad, passed away in January of this year, and I was home. I was able to go for his funeral and for the burial. And it was lovely to be there, but we were standing actually at the graveside, and it was in those final moments at the graveside, and a cousin who I hadn't seen for, I'm going to say 25 years, but it actually probably, when I thought about it, probably closer to 30 years, happened to be standing beside me at the graveside. And just in that moment, she just leaned into me and whispered, "You were great in the Weir."
Oh my goodness, John.
I mean, really, and we both started, she started, I'm sorry, she's probably not the most, you know, in the moment, but at the same time, I think my dad would have gotten such a kick out of it because it was so funny and but also very moving. And also kind of went to show to me, like, people who would never have normally had a chance to watch something in New York.
Yeah.
And she's somebody who would never have been, I don't think she would have been outside of Ireland, really, you know, at any point. So it was so lovely that she actually saw the Weir in the form that it was done in. And so it was, you know, it really kind of showed me the extent to which the show had reached out, and how Irish Reps shows reached out over the pandemic, you know, but also very funny.
I mean, there was some time, you know, during the, you know, when the Weir was on, where there was like maybe 2,000 to 3,000 people watching a night, you know, for the nights that it, you know, towards the latter part of that week, because we were only running them for 5 or 6 shows at the time. So, you know, John, did you go through your career with the guy as well? Did you talk about other roles you might have done?
Yeah, we were there until February, actually. Good time. Yeah.
That reminds me of this beautiful night. It was a patron night that for Give Me Your Hand. And we had our actors staying up late in London and Dublin, I think. And there was this woman from West Virginia that was talking about the artwork with the artists. And it was just this, the ability for a conversation like that to happen from London to West Virginia through our little portal was kind of breathtaking.
Did you see Greg's question that he lives in California? And he's wondering, I became a series fan during the pandemic. Can you ask how many in the audience today are from the West Coast? That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how to, we do always have a lot of Californians, actually.
Yeah, I mean, right now in the room, nobody else is putting up their hand, so you might be the only one today, Greg, representing West Side.
But I know when I'm running a patron report, if there's 800 people in the audience, there's going to be 50 or 60 from California at a given time.
Oh, Stanley's in Oregon. That's right. Stanley mentioned that already. Yeah, he's in Oregon. Yeah.
Where was the place? Maybe you remember, Seth. There was some place that was so obscure we'd never even heard of it, and we had to look it up. Do you remember that? Was it somewhere in Africa? Some tiny little principality.
Right. And yeah, we didn't know.
Roscommon? Roscommon?
Roscommon, that's it, yeah. That's it, Maeve, yeah. Oh my God.
I think we should leave it here. I want to be respectful of their day off and day on their day off. We make everybody work on their days off. So thank you so much for this brief conversation, Maeve and John. We were really
Oh,
grateful.
thank you. And thanks everybody for coming along. I can't wait for you to see the show, and thanks for all the support.
And we have our previews begin on October 8th. There are still good seats available, and we have a patron night on October 21st where you'll be able to see not John and Maeve in person after the show. We will not be doing a pre-show reception at this time for our patron nights until we get a clearer
Just
idea.
because of John's behavior, he just can't really be trusted meeting the audience in person.
I think
Nothing to do with COVID.
Yeah.
You know that it's the
apologize in advance.
Thank you both for being here, and thank you all of our Irish Rep members for logging on. And also, please, if you haven't registered for the script club, please do, and I will email you a PDF of Kevin's wonderful play so that you have a chance to read it.
Oh, great. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you
Bravo,
so
you
much.
two.
Bye-bye.
Bravo, bravo.
Thanks, Maeve. Thanks, John.
Thanks, everybody.